Hi, my name's Kelly, and I'm the program director at ECHO. By now, you've probably watched our Getting Started video. You've explored the different paths towards adoption. You've talked with someone you trust to give you good, wise counsel, and now you're ready to take the next step. Now, if you haven't done this yet, I really want to encourage you to do so and then come back to these videos. You've got time. We'll be here when you get back. If you have done these things and you're ready to move forward, let's explore international adoption. International adoption has a long history for many adoptive families in the U.S. For many contributing reasons, international adoption has decreased significantly over the last 10 years from its peak of about 25,000 completed adoptions to just over 4,000 in the most recently released report. Families choose international adoption for a number of reasons, but the two most common are that the international adoption process has a very predictable timeline, and it almost always is a closed adoption. And both of these things are favorable to families so that they're willing to work to overcome the other struggles that often come with international adoption, such as increased cost, increased paperwork, missing or incorrect health records, or historical documentation. Thankfully, you don't have to know much about this process to successfully complete an international adoption, because all adopting countries have contracts with adoption agencies here in the United States. Now, some countries also have diplomatic agreements on how adoptions will be carried out. This adds to the paperwork, but it also adds to the protection, both for your child and for you. Your adoption agency will perform a home study in which you will be expected to adhere to state guidelines as well as the adopting country's guidelines. Sometimes those additional guidelines can be health related. There could be extra financial benchmarks. They may want to know about past marriages or other demographic information to help the adopting country maintain their guidance for international adoptions. These requirements may seem extreme to some, but the adopting country has a responsibility to this child and to the country and culture of origin to make the best decisions possible for all. You'll also need to complete fingerprinting for every adult in the home at the time of your home study and submit to immigration information request. All of this information gets compiled into a gigantic document called a dossier, which is basically a massive home study report that gets sent to the adopting country for approval. Your adoption agency knows everything that needs to be included in this document, so no need to worry. They're also going to provide you with a checklist and in many cases, examples of each of these forms. Your caseworker or agency representative is experienced with the dossier submission, and it'll make for a great resource to you. It's a big deal, but you're not alone. Now, unlike domestic private adoptions, the international adoptive parent chooses the child. Because of this, your agency will ask you to explore what needs you're willing to consider. But please note, not all needs are identified in the child's profile. Some needs may not become known until after the adoption is completed. Most children placed for adoption from international countries are at least 1 year old at their initial listing, but many are older and may have significant special needs. They likely have spent a majority of their childhood in an orphanage or institution. Sometimes orphanage conditions are not ideal for typical development, and children have been forced to deal with the traumatic effects of abuse and neglect. This isn't always the case, but the bottom line is to consider here. Every child is different, and their needs, both now and throughout their life, may change. What must be consistent is your commitment to love them no matter what. Sometimes diplomatic relations deteriorate, and a country may choose to close adoptions to American families. If this happens and you're in the middle of an adoption process, you may be forced to walk away from it, along with whatever money you've committed up to that point. Finding a good agency with a long history with that adopting country helps increase your chances of finalization. But ask your agency what they've done in the past and what you can expect from them if this were to happen to you. Now that we've provided an overview of the process, here's what it looks like to finalize. When you adopt internationally, you become the legal parent of the child in country. All that paperwork you did ahead of time expedited this process for you once you receive your child. As the legal parent, you will then obtain a passport from their country of origin and work with the U.S. Embassy in that country, who will issue a travel visa for the child to enter the U.S. And upon entering the U.S., your child immediately becomes a United States citizen. Now, some families do choose to readopt once they're stateside, so the child can have a state-issued birth certificate. This can be valuable when registering for school or obtaining a driver's license, applying for college, and entering the workforce. It's not required, but it can be beneficial. International adoption costs are agency and country specific, but will fall somewhere in the $20,000 to $35,000 range. Travel costs are a big part of these fees. Some countries require multiple trips, staying anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks in country. And if you choose to take your entire family or just one parent travels, you have the cost for airfare, lodging, transportation, and meals can make the cost substantially different. And while the cost for international adoption can be high, there are also a number of grants, scholarships, tax credits, and fundraising opportunities available to help you offset most, if not all, of these fees. All right, here's your next 3 steps. 1, now that we've flooded your mind with information and your heart is churning with all kinds of emotions, take a minute and breathe. I realize this can feel overwhelming, but trust me, you can do it. And while I wish I could tell you that this will be your last moment of panic, it won't. But that's okay. That's why we're here. We are committed to answering your questions, pointing you in the right direction, and building a circle of support to stand beside you through it all. 2, pray. Ask God if this is how He'd like you to serve Him. We say it like this: adoption is not for the faint of heart, but you can be certain it's at the heart of the God who does not faint. If this is where He's asking you to serve, He will be with you every step of the way, no matter what. And 3, decide which agencies you'd like to interview. Is there a particular country you're drawn to? If so, that helps narrow down your choices. But all of the agencies have information sessions on a regular basis where you can learn about the programs in the countries they serve. If you need recommendations, please reach out. We'd love to direct you to some of our partners. Thanks for taking the time to explore this path towards international adoption. And as always, if we can answer any questions for you, we are eager to help.